What's up, guys? Welcome to the James Boudreau podcast, where I sit down with people from all walks of life to talk about their stories, experiences, and ideas. This podcast is brought to you by Watson Motors, the official studio sponsor. If you're in need of a Jeep, Ram, or Dodge, or whatever, these guys have you covered with great deals and even better service. So hit them up in Manistee, Benzie, or Ludington, or check them out online at watsonmotors.com. Listen, support the people that support the show. Now let's get into it. Well, I used to do this at night when I had Manistee beverage, about a fist away, it'll be good. So it would be like after hours or when I had time. It was really more when the store was shutting down and I had a studio in the back of the store. So a lot of it would happen after hours.
Well, you just be like, let's go on the shelf and try this.
I'm not going to say that, but yeah.
You have the shop.
Yeah, we had the shop. And I had a little studio in the upstairs where I was messing around with stuff. Yeah. Manistee Beverage was more of it turned into a conduit for other things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It was a business, but it was everything else I was doing I was more passionate about. So
yeah, it was a good community piece, though. Nice cornerstone there.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to my wife all the time about how if not for opening that business, there'd be a lot of things I don't know if I'd be doing right now.
Yeah.
This one of them.
Yeah.
So so my best friends I met running that store.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are like into what we're going to talk about today. It started with cycling and moving towards running and then kind of putting those pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't stop.
Oh, it's addictive.
Hey, so that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was like the addiction level because, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild how I felt after the Frankfort Half Ironman. And how I feel just a few weeks later. And I don't mean like physically, I mean like mentally, like so I'm interested to pick your brain.
I want to hear your side too.
Yeah. No, I'll get into my side, but I really want to start with kind of where you started in this, in tri-sports. This episode is brought to you by Brandon Ball, broker owner of Dwelling Realty, Keller Williams, Northern Michigan. Are you looking to sell your home? Then look no further. When you list your home with Brandon Ball, you'll get a trusted advisor who will guide you through the entire selling process. With extensive knowledge of the local market, he'll help price your home competitively to attract the right buyers. And with proven marketed strategies, your home will be seen by the most qualified of buyers. With 17 years in the business, you'll have someone experienced who's on your side. Contact Brandon today to get started selling your home. 231-690-4981. That's 231-690-4981. Or Brandon at dwellingrealty.com. This episode is brought to you by Trailhead Bike Shop. Trailhead Bike Shop is an old school independent bike shop owned and operated by two supremely rad humans, Kyle and Lynette Nichols. They're a full-service shop offering quality bicycles while providing quality service at a fair price. They strive to provide great customer service and build relationships within the community. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. No matter what kind of cycling you're doing, be it on the road or getting after it on gravel, Trailhead Bike Shop is the shop you need to check out. You can find them at 216 West Ludington Avenue, Ludington, Michigan. You can get a hold of them at 231-845-0545 or trailheadbikeshop.com. So, I mean, I guess if I could give a small anecdote for me. I was always super athletic in like high school, like a lot of bros are. And, but I never was into anything other than just like regular sports, football, basketball, stuff like that, baseball. A brief stint in the military where I was forced to run. But it wasn't anything other than, you got to get 2 miles under 20 minutes was part of the physical,
Easy task to take on, and plus you're driven.
Yeah. I mean, there were people that were fucking struggling when we first had to start running. It was like, wow, why'd you sign up for this? This is probably the easiest part of the whole thing. But After that was it. After I got out of the Air Force, I mean, I wasn't really athletic at all. A lot of lifting, but that's really it. And I'm 47 now, and I think, just before maybe 2016, 2015, when, my kids were, 8, 9, or 10, and I'm like, I could probably do that 5K, like the firecracker here locally,
Yeah.
So it hasn't been that long, maybe 10 years. And it's been all right, well, if you can do a 5K, you can do a 10K. And then I had a really good friend of mine who is a runner, and was like, well, if you can do a 10K, you can do a half. So that's slowly kind of progressed from there. But the shit that I do, though, I think it's totally, it's like, oh, you can do a half. Well, you're familiar with the North Country Trail Run, right?
For sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the first half marathon I did was there.
Okay, not necessarily a great choice.
Not a great choice at all, but I did pretty well. I made sure to focus on running trails and everything before I went out there and did it. But man, what a beast! And then my first marathon was out there, and that destroyed me. I mean, that absolutely wrecked me. It took me over 5 hours to finish it. I mean, I was dying. I wasn't prepared.
Which is still an outstanding time. Let's face it, that's not a flat course. It's not an easy course.
Yeah. And then my brother and sister-in-law had done, like, the first year. It was in Frankfort for the Ironman. And then they did it a year after that. They kept saying, oh, you can do it. Like, I'm not a swimmer. I grew up here in Manistee. I grew up on the lake, Manistee Lake. And but I never swam in school.
You could keep yourself afloat, though. You could get
stay
in the
afloat.
water.
I could swim off the dock to a raft. I could play.
Yeah.
So this year, I just started swimming in the pool in January.
Okay.
At the school. And then I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then open water swimming is a totally different animal.
It is.
Yeah. So I'll stop this is where I'm at. I'll stop right there, and we'll come back to that, because I want to talk about, like, the differences between my experience in the Frankfurt half and yours, and preparation and all that stuff. But maybe let's get into, like, how did you start? Like, did you start, like, small, like 5Ks and shit like I did?
Yeah,
or
well, I started, like, you and I have, like, we're on both sides of the spectrum on this story. So, yeah, I wasn't athletic growing up. I was, like, equestrian team at maybe Michigan State. I ran for fun, but I was middle of the packer, just not competitive. I just wasn't concerned about it. I just liked being part of the team, and it was fun. And it was in chiropractic school. In 97, I did my first, like, duathlon, and it lit the fire. Like, I don't know, I had a great time. I was just, like, a changed woman. I think I got an age group medal or something. And then it lit the fire. And then from there on out, just had that competitive mindset, and I've just been active ever since. I love swimming, I love biking, I love running, I love all sports, really. I just like to, but so totally different. Like, mine developed over time, and it was triathlon that brought it out. And I agree, like, I don't remember my first 5K. I actually hate 5Ks. They're vomit machines.
Yeah.
I
get that. No, I get that.
They're
now.
literally all out, and I feel like if I show up to a local one, people know, like, oh yeah, she's done the Boston like 5-6 times. She's here to win it. No, I'm here to redline it and try not to toss my cookies in front of people. Like, it's as simple as that. But as you develop your, multi-sport timing, it's just like you ran that 5K, you did it. Maybe I'll try the 10K. Did the 10K. Now if you go back to the 5K, you're like, it's only half the distance.
Yeah.
You do a half marathon, it's only half the distance to go that 10K or whatever. You start out with the North Country Trail Run, and you throw yourself in like a single track, running up and down an old ski hill with sand and roots, right? You get a dinner plate medal, anything less is going to be like, oh, that's easy. It's flat, And just slowly, you just kind of slowly work up. I signed up for my first Ironman and never had even run a marathon yet.
Okay, so this a full Ironman.
A full Ironman.
So what are the distances for a full Ironman?
2.4 mile swim. now, 112-mile bike, and then a 26.2-mile run. So I don't even think I did a half by the time I had first registered for that full. And I never thought I would do a full Ironman. So in chiropractic school, I remember swimming. I started swimming for this multi-sport thing in 97. And the two people in the lane next to me were just badasses. And they were chiropractic students who were like training for like Hawaii at that time, and they would talk about these stories about people having pieces of their small intestine removed because it had died during the Ironman. Because when you're working, that's right, I had that same look. When you're working at that level, the blood's diverted to the working groups, right? Your quads, carrying you the distance. But, you're trying to digest. Well, that blood goes away from the stomach. And what they were telling us is like regularly this was a normal occurrence. And I was like, why would you ever do that? Yeah. That's so wrong. I'll just stick with these. And then I don't know, life happens and you go, can I do that? I'm going to try to do it.
Yeah.
And then you do it. And here we are. Right?
Well, so what was that experience like, your first full? Where was it at?
Louisville.
Okay.
Louisville in 2008. And it was the race was on my 36th birthday. So, and I like rallied the troops. I told both, my parents are divorced, been a long time. And I said, hey guys, I want to do this. It's really important to me that you guys show up. So it's August 31st. I got a suite at the host hotel. Let's pile in and go, and it was kind of, I don't know how quickly you told people you were signing up or if you talked to your wife ahead of time and said, this is what I want to do. But it's one of those things like I kind of held it to myself for a while and then I shared it and then I was like, I need you guys there.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible day. It was like, I don't know, this is like coming home. And, you cross that finish line, and to this day, I choke back tears every time. It's like my family's crying, I'm crying. It was hot, like 94 degrees, humid, Louisville. But at the same time, like every picture is the best time of my life. I'm like, this is great. You're swimming in some nasty river that's just dirty. You're hilly, you're maybe peeing on the bike. You're doing all this other stuff, and you're like, it's the best time ever. And I remember the day after, you're packing up, everybody's limping around, you're loading up your car. And I remember one of my parents was like, whew, thank God that's over. It's a long day for them. That's
it's a long day.
Really long day for the spectators. They're looking for you to go, pew, fly by, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember my dad and I walking downstairs, like, taking the gear, and there's, like, the sign up for next year, and my dad's like, you gonna sign up? And he was the one going, I think you're gonna die here today,
Yeah.
And just the switch, and it's, gosh, for the next 10 years, I did about 20 Ironmans over 10 years or whatever.
That's crazy, dude. 2 a year.
And,
what?
My parents would get together and we'd strategize what races we're going to do. We'd make it a big family trip. And, they were all in. My mom would ride a bike next to me while I get my running in. We talk race strategies. My dad's a car racer. We talk about tire, wheel choices. Like, it was an all-in family event. And in that meantime, during that time, I had my son. I had some of my fastest times. Actually, my fastest Ironman was when I was pregnant. But you have increased.
That's wild. You did an Ironman when you were pregnant?
I did. I did a couple. And so, he came out. That kid is athletic as can be. And it's in his genes. And he was all over that course, So, it was a great, that's where it started. And now, though, so we're talking about this half distance or whatever. So my last full was at Kona. So I went to Kona in 2018, and it was kind of a good time. Like, it made sense to kind of like wrap up that distance. I know I've heard you talk like, I don't know. You don't maybe want to go and train for a marathon so much right now, right? Kids are busy, life is busy. That's a dedication. That's a body pounding, right?
Right.
But this half is doable. It's doable to run a business, doable to be there for your kids, and doable to put the time in to get a race that you're like, yeah, I want more, right?
Yeah.
So I've just been doing halves ever since, and just the local one, you just drive up. It's a beautiful course.
And I don't know if I would have done one if not for Frankfort.
It's just in our backyard.
It's so convenient.
Yeah.
You know, to speak to what you said about like the sacrifice the family makes to be there. I mean, you know, my wife went with me, Betsy went with me at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she sat there all day until I was done. Now my youngest daughters, they came with grandparents later on in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, so they weren't there for the whole thing, which, you know, they didn't need to be there that early in the morning. But she sat there from 5 until, I don't know what time we left. I mean,
craning their
hours.
neck. They're watching. Now they have.
Well, they have the app.
They
so
have
she
the
knew,
app now if
which
it's
is helpful.
updated.
Yeah.
You know, way back then, they were just staring there, looking, and literally for a flash. And as you know, I mean, Ironman does a great job.
My first experience is phenomenal.
They are branded. They know what they're doing, hands down, right? But it's like you're looking through all these spectators, and I think the number is for every athlete, there's typically 4 support crew that athletes bring to the race. So you're looking, you know, you got a couple thousand people sometimes.
Yeah.
You're looking for that one person with their hand up in the crowd that you're like, hi, you know,
Hi.
and then you're gone.
Yeah.
But it's a long day for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a long day for a glimpse of their athlete. But isn't it so important when you see them on course, especially when you get into the run, you're getting to the grit, you know?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm going to see him in about a mile, you know? And then you go, you don't want them to see you suffering, you know? So you pick up your stride, you try not to suffer. You're like, hey, you know, and then you pass him and you go, oh, am I okay? No.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that part of this talk. So what was your, you've done all these iron, what's your training look like? Let's take out the full Ironman.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the half, because selfishly that's where I'm at right now. So this is part of this discussion is me learning something from you, because I went into this completely green. You know, like I said, my brother and sister-in-law did it a couple times, and we have a mutual friend that they train with that has done full Ironman and stuff like that, and he was giving them pointers. But this was more, I'm on my own, and all summer long I trained with a friend of mine, Tom. Shout out to Tom, he's going to hear this. I thought we grinded all summer. I mean, I really thought we grinded hard all summer. I mean, we were doing everything. Now, there are some things I want to bring up that I think we did wrong. So I'd like to pick your brain on those things. But I'm not like a Hal Higdon guy, you know?
Yeah.
For like training for marathons and shit. I'm more of a feel. Like, because if I'm following a plan and it says, all right, today's a 10-mile run, but I feel like I could do 15, then I'm probably going to do 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm always like, I like to just let my body tell me what I can do. So during the training this year, it was always like, you know, for him and I, for example, it was like 3 days a week. We were really getting together, and it was always, what do you want to do today? You want to run? You want to bike? You want to do both? Go for a swim? So we kind of just pieced it together like that. And then one time, I did a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but we did quite a bit of, towards the end of the training, where we would transition from bike to run, just to kind of get that feel. But one day we did an Olympic try, where we swam, and we rode and we ran. I think it was Olympic. It was about 1,000-yard swim, and we did a 27-mile bike ride, and then we did a 10K. I don't know if that's Olympic or not.
That's Olympic. That covers it.
But I felt so good. I mean, my race pace that I wanted to do for the run in Frankfort, I wanted to be right around 9-minute pace. I wanted to come in at 2 hours. And throughout the whole training, we were running 8.5. That Olympic, we did 8:15s. You know, I'm thinking, holy shit, your boy is ready.
Yeah, I'm going to cook this.
I'm going to cook this thing. And so my race, my average 100-yard swim in open water when because I would go to Fifth Avenue. I'd just go from the furthest buoy, go to the pier and back. It's basically, down and back. It's about 2 miles, or about a mile, a little over a mile, just about where I needed to be. And I was averaging like 2:30s. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm going to put myself in, like, so I wanted to do the swim in about 45 minutes. I wanted to be off the bike in 3 hours, and I wanted to run a 2-hour half. And I felt like I could do that, especially after doing the Olympic. I'm like, hey, we're close.
Yep, your measures were on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I put myself in the 40 to 45 minute wave for the swim, and I think that's what really screwed me, because I was smoking the swim. I mean, adrenaline obviously helped.
Yeah.
In fact, my wife was like, I mean, you were going so fast at the beginning, we thought you were going to be done in half an hour. I came around that first buoy, and then I just ran into people. There was a gal. I think she was a fast swimmer, but I don't think she had her endurance up. So she would swim a little bit, and she would go ahead of me. So I'm like, okay, so she's fast.
Yeah.
And then as I'd come up, then she'd roll over and do a freaking whatever this is, backstroke. I'm like, what are you doing? And then another guy was coming over here, and another guy was over here. So I couldn't get around them, and the sun was an issue.
Oh, the sun's terrible in that race.
And I had some really good Roca goggles that, polarized, but I could not see shit.
The sun is straight. You make that first turn on the backside of that swim, and the sun is straight into your vision. Like, I personally can't see the buoys. I'm just following the splash. Or maybe you might be able to see there's support. There's a boat here, and there's a boat here, and
stay in the middle.
Yeah, ideally. And sometimes you pop your head up and you go, everyone's over there.
Yeah, why are they all over there?
Oops.
I think they're turning.
Back you go.
So I came out of the water at 50 minutes, which I was still happy with, but I was like, man, that took me longer than I thought it was going to take. My transition times were really shitty. I lost a lot of time in transition.
What were they? I did not look up your stats.
Mine were, I think overall, I was at like 20 minutes total of transition, which seemed like a long time. I mean, especially for the bike, I had nothing to do but take my wetsuit off, put my shoes on, and go. But
did that go like that, though?
No. No, I was fucking nervous, making sure I got my shit. I'm keeping everything together. I'm like, so I'm already thinking about next year. But anyways, like making sure I get everything and get on the bike. And I wanted to be off the bike in 3 hours. I think it took me 3 hours and 15, 3 hours and 17 minutes. So it wasn't horrible. It was faster. I wanted to try to push for 20 miles an hour, and I averaged 17. So I was close to that time. So then I'm like, and I felt great because my buddy Tom was like the last big hill, before you come down. They should just call it like hilly instead of calling it what do they call rolling? Because for me, I'm like, holy shit. And I did a lot of cycling up to Onekama and back and hitting all those hills. But anyways, when I got to the top of that hill, he was standing there, and I was like, let's go, dude. I mean, I was feeling so good.
Yeah.
I made sure to eat. I had about 2,000 calories on the bike. I was like, I feel mint. Pulled in. And then started to run, and all of a sudden, I couldn't breathe. Like, I was in zone 2 and zone 3 endurance the entire time.
Of the bike?
Yeah.
And then what happened on the run?
I got to the run. I got everything done. I put my shoes on, got ready to go, and I could. I mean, that's as far as I could suck in. Okay. Like, so I don't know if this has ever happened to you, if you ever heard of that, but like my rib cage and my upper lung area was just like, it wasn't cramping, it just hurt. Just the muscles hurt.
Tightened right on.
Yeah, and then my legs were like, you're being stupid right now. You're not supposed to move this fast. So I fell apart on the run. And to speak to Ironman, it's clutch that they have an aid station every mile. Yeah. Because that, in my mind, I was like, all right, if I could just make it the next mile.
You run to the next one.
I can have something to drink. I can cool off. The ice was clutch. And then get to the next one. But, yeah, the half marathon took me over 3 hours.
Not where you wanted to be.
12 something a mile. I mean, I couldn't. Yeah.
That was a little shock for you.
That was a big shock for me.
Yeah.
And when I finished, I mean, like, again, I couldn't breathe.
You continued with that feeling?
Yeah, the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a DNF guy.
Well, I wouldn't be. If you read the athlete guide, did you read that?
Yeah.
I used to like print it, study it, take notes, right? And like one of the best things is on that run. And I don't know, it's been a while since I even read that, but it's like, you know, any form of forward motion is acceptable on the run, whether it's like crawling, you know, walking, you know, running, whatever it takes, you know, as long as it's just you making that forward motion, you've got it, you know, and there are times like, I don't know, I forged some of the best friendships in, you know, my life on that, like, I'll say that death march, you know, like, you know, you end up hooking up with somebody that's running your same pace or walking your same pace, and you start like, let's get through this together. Let's run to the next mailbox, to the aid station. Let's try to pick it up, you know. Yeah,
there was a guy that I ended up linking up with. When we kept joking with each other because he was literally doing the same thing I was doing, where he would walk and run, but it was at a different segment.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
you'd each pass each other.
I would come pass him running, and then later he would pass me when I was walking, and you know, it just got to the point where I would run as fast as I could till about 100 yards or so from the aid station. When I could see the aid station, then I would just walk to the aid station, try to regroup, and then carry on to the next one. But yeah, it was not the. When I finished, I looked right at Betsy and said, I did it. Check it off the list. I did this thing, this really hard thing. I finished. I got the hat, you know, because I kept telling her, you only get the hat if you finish. So I got to finish this thing.
Yeah.
Started, I'm going to finish it.
That's a whole year earning of time and sweat to get that hat.
And then I'm like, I'm not doing it again. I'm all done. She goes, you sure? Yep. I'm never doing it again. And it wasn't like 2 hours later in my mind. I'm like, okay, well, if I could do this a little bit better next year, figure out why I lost my lungs, which was a weird. I think it wasn't my lungs. It was more the muscles. I just couldn't expand. And I couldn't expand really until like I had to do a bunch of breath work when I got home just to, you know, open it back up again. Yeah. But dude, I mean, there wasn't a sore. I wasn't sore. My legs were fine. So I know condition wise, you were prepared. I was ready for that thing. Yeah. But I don't know. It just bothered me so much, and I don't know if it was from just being so tense and tight on the bike that kind of torched that area there. But
could be. It's a prolonged time. I had tracked you once we finished because I knew you and I just talked briefly beforehand, and so I mean I knew you were doing this race, and so I knew you were local and keep an eye out for you and see and. I was trying to track you on the run, and then we were trying to catch you. I wanted to catch you as you were making kind of towards that last loop, right? And I missed you, and I don't know if the tracking was off a little bit, but I'm like, where'd he go? You know? Yeah. And then you know, now it makes sense if you were kind of behind pace, you know. Yeah. And then the tracker was maybe off and stuff, but yeah, you know, you should be proud that you you didn't leave anything on the course. No, I'm proud. I'm stoked finished, that I did it. Your family was there, you know, but you had that glazed donut look that had, you know, a victory. Like, I did it, but there wasn't a whole lot left out there. I didn't just bank time for next year. And that's the thing, like, with it, too, because I really wanted to enjoy the whole thing. You still did, didn't you? So I went all 3 days. I went Friday. Yep. I went up there Friday. Actually, I was up there like Thursday. I saw you Friday too. Yeah, I shot up there too because I wanted a good rack spot this year. I was like, I'm sneaking up for lunch. I'm grabbing a low number, and there you were, like 50 people less than me on number. I'm like, what the heck? Oh yeah, dude. I went up there Thursday and just kind of I drove the course. That's a whole nother story too. I'll get into that. But I went there Friday, checked in, did the whole athlete meeting thing. I know a lot of people that are used to doing this don't do the athlete meeting, but and I don't know if I got like a ton out of it, but I was just like, I'm just going to do this thing, you know. Is it mandatory? It's mandatory. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so everyone does it. Yeah. And then Saturday I went up there Friday with Betsy and Mary, and then Saturday went up there with my buddy Tom and did the bike thing and all that stuff and kind of soaked that all in because he's going to do the Ironman next year too. And because I know he could have totally done it this year, but he had a lot of shit going on. So hopefully him and I can continue this training in the next year. But then, you know, what I really wanted most is what I enjoy about all the events that I do is like the after. And I just didn't have it in me. Like I was just like,
And it took me so long. And, a lot of, there was cleaning up going on, and the athlete meal was kind of lackluster, if I'm going to be honest. When I got there, I was like, what is this?
I got in and there still was plenty of goods, but I was like, huh.
Yeah. So I grabbed a couple bags of Cheetos for the girls, but I just didn't get that like after race, that huge vibe that I'm used to.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that I'm craving too. I want to be done early enough so that I can kind of enjoy all this shit that goes on after as well. And I just want to be better.
Yeah. It's what drives you back again and again.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Something, right? It's what keeps us going.
It's I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I've said it to a few people. It's like a hook. To answer your question that from a little while ago about did I tell anybody? So when I signed up, obviously I talked to Betsy about it because it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
Not to mention, financially, a lot of people can't afford to do this kind of thing. So I'm kind of blessed.
There's ways you can do it and there's ways you can spend a whole lot of money, but let's be realistic. It's like when you rack your bike next to a 2006 non-aero wheel setup, you kind of go, probably not a big threat, although I've been passed by plenty of bike that looks like that when I'm in my full decked out gear,
Yeah.
But,
I saw some wild people out there in like mountain bike. I saw a guy on a mountain bike. And he was hurting. I don't know if he was in the relay and just said, hey, I can do the bike portion of this thing. That's right. You know what I mean? But dude was hurting.
Well, there's time cutoffs too, right?
Yeah.
I think the swim cutoff is 110, right? And it's like, you got through the swim. You were proud of your swim. You did a good swim. Really, you can miss that time cutoff. Like you could run into a few things. You could get cramps. You could get something.
Yeah.
And you could miss that. I don't know what the cutoff is for the bike. You'll see a few signs that you got to kind of be in by a place. But being on a mountain bike would be tough. I did a Ironman Cozumel a few years ago. Well, this is right. Those are all a bit ago. And it was a fun kind of story. So you're on this plane going to Cozumel, and the plane is full of triathletes, hands down. They have a look to them, right? And they're all pretty clean cut. They're all looking fit. They're all.
I don't look like a triathlete.
They're all wearing their hat from whatever race they did. It's all about the branding. They've got that down, right? And we're all sitting there, and you can see the porters loading up the bikes, right? There's bike boxes coming on the plane, and you're all looking, and these guys are literally launching these bike boxes on the conveyor belt, and you could hear and feel everyone go, ugh, every time they launched them, but you'd hear someone go, there's my bike, so you're like, it's getting on, yay, oh, and so you're watching that, but then you're hearing I didn't see my bike, my bike, and then the pilot comes over and goes, hey folks, we're sorry, we're delayed or whatever. We're trying to manage the luggage. Apparently there's a lot of these, specialty items. Just letting you know they're not all going to be on the plane today. And you're like,
mine better be.
Oh no, we're going to a small island in another country. Yeah. Oh my goodness, and then so you get to the your destination and you're sitting around that carousel and you're waiting for these bike, and everyone's like, nope, yeah, and you're kind of excited. And there were people doing the full Ironman, 2-3 laps around that island and didn't have their bikes, going off rentals. You're talking beach cruiser type situations.
That's wild, dude.
And they were out there. Yeah. I doubt they finished the bike course, but oh gosh, you see something every day. You go, their bike didn't make it, I'm thinking.
Yeah, you could spend a lot of money doing these things. When I signed up, as you know, when you sign up, then it's like, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? You got to scroll through all this shit.
How much speed can you buy? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can buy some speed.
You can buy some speed. I bought a bike. I didn't spend a huge amount of money. It's a nice little Damani, whatever, but it got me where I needed to be. Although in my mind, I'm like, God, what if I can just upgrade that a little bit?
Buy some speed.
Yeah.
I remember though, like all my gear is old. Admittedly, it's old. It's not where my money goes these days.
Yeah.
And if I'm only going to do one race a year, which has been like this Ironman Frankfort,
Yeah.
I'm not putting more money into this. You know, I got other places to go. And so I'm running off a bike I bought used, and it's, I think, a 2014. I have my wheel sets, which were, they were expensive. 2009, they were like, my rear full disc was like $2,000 without the gear or the tire on it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just one wheel, you know, and I have I have a few, but even my tires are sketchy, you know, they're old. My wetsuit was on the bare minimum. I mean, they only last so long. You know, the compromise of having this flexible suit is they don't last like they used to. And sure enough, on this, I was like, I'm going to treat myself to a new wetsuit. It's time. Because it was thin last year to the point that I go, eesh, you know, it's leaving black rubber marks around my neck. And I got it 2 weeks before. Perfect. You know, try it on. Okay. You know, I'm all right with this. 3 days before, it was my last swim. It was pulling apart at the seam, like on one seam. And it was a Roca. So I spent the money, right? I was like, this is association, you know, this should be great. I see people in them. You know, and I contacted them, and I was in like a little bit of a panic because I was like, uh-oh, and I want a wetsuit for this swim. There's no doubt that water can be cold. And, you know, we'll fix it. We'll send you a new one right now. We'll upgrade. Here you go. Super nice. I'm like, oh, man, great. Can you get it here by Saturday? Like, can you overnight that? They couldn't. But so I did get a replacement. But it didn't come till after the race. So here I'm delicately putting on this like relic, and sure enough, tore a big hole in the sleeve. And I was like, no, I knew it was coming. And I tucked the flap in. It wasn't a few strokes in. I could see that thing out there like a fin. I was like, dang it, you know.
I was standing next to a guy getting ready for the swim, and he pulled the zipper up on his wetsuit. And popped it right off. So the back of his wetsuit was wide open.
Oh my God, no, that's a worse situation.
So everybody's panicking, trying to help him. And it's basically like, we can't get the zipper back on, dude. You're just going to have to try to do it.
Yeah, take it off or go.
I would have just taken it off, swam in my bike kit at that point. Because I felt like that water getting in there would have been
like a parachute slowing you down.
It would have been a mess.
I feel like, I mean, swim's a good way to keep talking. I think the swim is probably the hardest for most people, and it takes more out of them on what they're prepared. If you're doing a lot of pool swimming, or if you're coming from a swim background, you've got that technique, but it's still nothing to a bunch of bodies in the water. It's not clear. There's no lane line. Mm-mm. There's sun. There's chop. There's, you know, safety out there, you know, trolling in their boat and putting like oil and gas on the, you know, that you can sometimes, I mean, you know, you're breathing that in. That's kind of nauseating sometimes. You got a lot of chop. And then there's the combat. So for years ago, the races used to be not swim start or safe start. And so
everybody just went
you'd put like 2,500 people treading water.
Wild.
A cannon, you know, in kind of a line, and they'd be yelling at you. They'd be like, "Get back, get back, get back!" You know, especially if there's current, you know, and then the cannon goes off, and you go from everybody vertical to everybody horizontal, moving towards that first buoy, in brutal chaos. You know, swim or be swum over. You know, I would always set myself behind the biggest dude I could find. And I'd sit right there, you know. And then if he wasn't fast enough, you just grab the back of their suit and you just go over. You know, and you know, maybe you got to breathe when you were going to think you were going to breathe. Yeah. And maybe you had your head face down for 5 strokes because you got people one side, you know, I'm usually singing clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. And here I am just like stuck, not breathing, trying to get past this, you know. And then all of a sudden, like the lady you were, you know, flipping on her back and stuff, like you just you just ride up on them. Like you don't even, if they stop moving and you're moving, before you know it, you are at their hip, you know, and you got to like move them, or sometimes you got to kind of just shove people away. But a few years ago, they started this safe start or something like that. And I think they had about 4 people dying in Ironman swims type a year, 2 couple. I mean, different reasons, right? Don't quote me on that, but there is some danger to it. In some races, they even have scuba under the buoys. Like, you can look down and see a dude.
That would freak me out.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of, but that's their safety, and they know some of those probably more combative areas where they just stick their safety under the water. Gotcha. But this swim here was rough. Like, I think I lined up in the 35s to 37s or 37s to 39, and my swim was right where I pretty much expected it to be. But, it was rough. I took a really hard hit by some guy, and it's a guy because it's a green cap versus a pink cap. And, I went to breathe just as he was probably coming down, and I actually was like, did the dude break my nose? Like, he hit my nose and, like, lip. It hurt, and felt warm. I was like, is my nose bleeding? I don't even know, But you just keep going, right? But I ran into another girl. I actually knew her, and she should have been way out in front. She was doing the same thing, flipping on her back, looking at her. I'm like, what are you doing? Get your head down. Let's go. Yeah. But it was combative. It was more rough than I think I'd seen in a few years, even with that time start. It's just probably just the way it is. I don't know,
I was the most, I was dreadful the most about the swim. I mean, and rightfully so for me, because like I said, I wasn't ever a swimmer. So there was a lot of time where I was every day. The last month, all of August pretty much, I made a point to be in the lake 3-4 days a week.
Comfortable in that wetsuit, because that's a different beast getting in that swimming.
The morning of, I remember saying, all right, to Betsy, I'm like, all right, I'll see you in like 7 hours. I'm going to do my fucking heart. And then, of course, they want you to stand in line for what feels like 10 hours. So I'm just looking at the water going, oh, shit, this is it. If I'm not going to finish this race, it's going to be because of this thing. And honestly, it was the easiest part of the whole race for me.
That's amazing.
This is crazy. I got out of the water. I'm like, oh, that was nuts.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So now I'm like, well, that was my biggest concern.
I'm good. I'm golden.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Let's do another one of these fucking things.
Well, it's
because I never got hit, but really got hit by anybody. Like I said, I had a little issue when I ran into people, but everybody that I talk to that do these kind of races, they're always like, yeah, it's a war zone out there. And I'm like, God, I can't. I don't know if I could do this with all these people, but maybe I just found the right slot.
Well, you might have seated yourself well, and I mean, I think you said you turned and all of a sudden you had chaos and stuff, but it's, I don't know. Then you get people swimming sideways, I don't know. You have to not spend all your matches in the swim. Yeah. That sounds like that's what you did. You have to relax. I mean, you're not going to win a race in the swim most likely, but you can lose it. Right. You can lose it by your effort and just stress dumped into your system, and then you just struggle to get on top the rest of the day. I usually just go, it's just a nice warm up. Let's just go and enjoy it. Yeah.
So what does your training look like then? So like for...
Golly, probably not going to be super excited about this.
But, and that's all right. I can remember when I first started getting into cycling, let's just go back like even just like 5 years. I don't know what you were gearing up for 5 years ago, but I would see you on your bike. I used to, well, maybe longer than that now.
Maybe it was for my Ironmans. When I was going, I would ride up to Frankfort and back. On a day. That's an 80-mile. Yeah. But that gets you the hills. Yeah. And there's a nice shoulder up and back. You can refuel at the at the artesian wells. That's a great loop. So,
I have a feeling that I know how you're going to answer that question then, because I interviewed, which was it was a totally different kind of interview. I really wanted to talk. I was Andy Reamer. Yeah. I had Andy Reamer on, and I really wanted to get into his Ironman history and all that, but we ended up having to talk more about like the restaurants and shit that he's opening up, because that was kind of the focus. But I really wanted to divert it more to that. But the one thing I asked him is like, you know, when you're training for something like that, how do you have time for that? He's like, you get one long swim in, one long bike ride, one long run, you're fine. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works, dog. But in hindsight, if you've been doing something like that for so long and your body's to a certain level, you know, I like lately in the last few years, I've always said I want to be half marathon ready. Like, so I'm making sure that I can always go out and do a half marathon if I want to. So maybe you're just Ironman ready all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're to the point where your training doesn't have to be super intense.
No. It's I'm going to say there's like, especially with an Ironman or something of that distance, I mean, you do get a break. You're not spending all day on one event. That's nice. You know, I'm sure that by the time you're done with that bike, you're like, all right, check that off the list. Now I'm on to the next, you know. And it's amazing how you can maybe come in and have some fatigue in your system, but you're like, I only got 2 hours left of running to do, you know. I'm almost done. There is something to just keeping a general fitness, I think, and just, you know, my job as a chiropractor is physically active. It's busy. My family is physically active and busy. It's just, you know, there's a certain level. And, you know, this year I actually probably had more training and preparation than I had in the last couple of years. And, but we had went skiing in Chile first 2 weeks of August. And, you know, I did like maybe one run at 10,000 feet elevation when we were in a blizzard. And, but other than that, you know, that's not, you know, that's kind of probably during peak Ironman training. Yeah. You know, when I came back, you know, told my family, like, it's crunch time. You know, I want to have some preparation at this race. I don't want to just show up on like the bare minimum, which I have, you know, because life happens and, you know, yeah, I can get through this race. I think I could get through this race any given day and time with or without preparation, especially for a half, because I know what it's going to feel like and I know there's an end to it, you know. So, you know, it's just how good are you going to feel, maybe how fast are you going to get. But, you know, for this one, I came back and I was like, I've got about 3 weeks of active training where the training takes the priority, you know. So, you know, let's say Thursdays were my two-a-days. I'd get a swim in the morning. I'd do a track workout or something at night. Quality over quantity, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself, I believe, at, you know, I'm 53, like, I need rest, you know, don't come in just burnt down and broken, right? Yeah. So quality training, you know, like there wasn't a whole lot of gray training, like where you just did, you know. Maybe with the swim, I did some gray training of just like open water practice, you know, just being comfortable in that wetsuit. But I made sure that I got, you know, maybe I only swam at the pool maybe 3-4 times, but I went with a plan and I hit that session and I hit what I wanted and then done, you know. You know, I don't normally do track workouts. It's not my jam. I just love being outdoors and just whether walk, run, whatever. I just like it, you know. But, you know, for those times I made sure I hit those. And that last track workout, I hit the measures I wanted, you know. And I was like, okay, check that. That's prepared. Definitely did more biking than I had in the last couple of years on this. Got myself some distance. You know, I think last year maybe I had like a 20, a 30, and a 40-mile bike ride, you know, in preparation. I mean, yikers, right?
That was me this year. I mean, our longest was a little over 30. Okay. And so even though I felt great doing the bike and getting off the bike, I needed to do longer distance. Definitely. On the bike.
I would definitely think that that's where you could improve upon from last year, this current year, to next year, is getting in more time on that. This Frankfort Ironman is like a beautiful course. Yeah. Beautiful. And, you know, it's not that hilly. I swear Ironman usually, like, if they if the road passes a super steep climb, they would make you go up the climb and turn around and come right back. So I think this one's a good one.
Oh, I mean, I agree. The running course is flat.
Well, and it's got tons of support. Look at all the people all the way around. They don't have you isolated in some closed area where there's like nothing but a death march around you, or like nothing. You know, you could see people the whole time. The aid stations were like super pumped up. My CCSC is my son's ski team, and I'm actually on the board for that organization. They had that big one that was like halfway kind of by the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, hey, you know, like, I'm like, I'll see you in like 3 miles. Ah! You know, it was like, kept you going. I did have, coming off that bike, so the bike was beautiful. We had we didn't have a ton of wind, you know, perfectly managed. You feel safe out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have public safety officers at everything. They'll escort a car. I mean,
it was crazy to see state police officers out there.
You show me another race that feels that close, that protected, that safe, right? I mean, it's great. It's a great, beautiful course. I thought it was favorable for a good day, but if I was to use my experience and hear your training, I think you could have improved maybe a little more time. Maybe you were just, coming into those final hills and stuff, especially if they seemed like more than just rolling. Maybe, did you have air bars? That, my friend, is going to buy you time and speed.
Like a lot, though?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I trained with an aero bike 2 years ago, and I just felt, I mean, it would take some getting used to.
Yep. I would say that for like the same amount of effort that I'm pedaling, and then there's always that mental thing of like, I'm laying on those aero bars and I'm usually like, click, one more gear, because it's like, it's time to work,
Yeah.
Click, and you're picking it up. And I'm going to say regularly that's another mile per hour. So that takes your 17 right there to an 18 without any more perceived exertion or whatever.
Is that just because of aerodynamics?
I think it's aerodynamics for sure. But you have to be comfortable, and you have to have that set. Once again, you don't want that stress taking away your energy. You got to be able to handle your bike. You got to be able to look ahead so you're not running into stuff or people. But just, I think, pure aerodynamics gets you that. But you just have to have the fit so you're not compressing, you're not limiting your oxygen flow in that position. I mean, I can have a whole meal on those aero bars. I just chill out and eat. Wild, dude. I have my peanut butter and banana sandwich with sea salt on it. I mean, I just have the meal right there, So I think that's not a big investment to just add to your bike.
No, I could do that.
Yeah.
It's easy enough.
I would do that. There's your mile right there, and then per hour, and then you just a little bit more time on the bike, because you have to reserve for that run.
Yeah.
You can't come in spent, and it is hard. I don't know, 2,000 calories. That's a lot. That's a lot to consume. Your body might have been tightening up because your body is trying to now go from a more horizontal position, right? Leg focused, to all of a sudden you're vertical on the run, right? So you're kind of stretching and opening up this whole area. And you've got your upper body, you got more core activation. Maybe you overate. It's possible.
Maybe.
That's a lot of calories.
I spent a lot more than that.
Oh, for sure. I think at the end my Garmin was like, maybe I spent 3,200 calories according to Garmin, but.
Yeah, I'm a gorilla, so mine was a lot higher. But at the end, all done, and we were kind of around for like an hour or so, back to the truck, changed. Man, there were still people running.
God bless them.
I mean,
that's a long day.
Give it to them. That is a long day.
There's spectators out there that time.
We got about a mile out of Frankfort, and I said to Beth, "You got to pull over." And I dry heaved for like 10 minutes. I couldn't, I thought I had something in there and nothing was in there, but it just kept, I was just trying to get it out. Nothing came out. I'm like, I destroyed myself.
And your kids were in the car seeing this?
Yeah.
And they're like, Dad, do you want to do this again?
My littlest one was like,
oh, Daddy's sick.
What is going on? But, if you can prove to them you can do hard things, then they can do hard things.
That's right. That's right. They're always watching.
Yep. Big deal. Now I'm to the point where, and I'd love to get your thought on this, is, you jumped right into the full Ironman, like you said at the beginning, which I think is, I understand it. I understand why you did that, because even though I, obviously haven't done something like that, I know that pull to do something that's really hard.
Something I thought was absolutely impossible, and for some reason I go, that makes sense to try.
Yeah. Well, and the more that you do stuff like that, the more you're like, maybe I can do this again, or do the next big thing.
So I don't have any tattoos. I have a cousin, he's a great tattoo artist, and, I see him all day on people, and I love the stories behind them, right? And, I was always like, if I do an Ironman, I'm going to get tattooed.
Oh, yeah, people can ask me.
That's, because they all, that's like, you show up and people have their M dot on their calf, or, especially if they're cool enough to have been to Kona, they have the Hawaiian Islands kind of worked around there, and I was always like, if I do one, that's tattoo worthy, right? And I did one, and I was like, well, so did like 2,500 other people today. Yeah. Don't know that that's it. Don't know that that's enough to put that mark on my body just yet. And each time I was like, maybe that, no, that's not it yet. I think it just opens the door to like, what else can I do? If I can get through that, what else can I do today? I still have no tattoos. I've been to Xterra World Championships. I've been to Kona. I've been to Boston. I've been to all these things, but no, not yet.
So speaking of that, so you qualified for the World Championship, correct?
I did.
So what is that? What does that entail? Where is it, and like, what does that mean?
Well, it's there's a couple ways to get into these World Championships that that Ironman hosts, and I got what they would call maybe a roll down spot. So each race has a certain allocated number of qualifying spots to get into the World Championships for the 70.3. And next year, I think it's the same weekend as Frankfort, maybe the 12th and 13th of September in Nice, France. So, like I said, I've been to Xterra World Championships. That was probably the hardest race I ever did. Kona, that was just for me doing it like, this is kind of the icing on the cake. I'm just going to do it and have fun, And so last year, I kind of just missed this roll down spot. And I had a better race this year. I was only 2 minutes faster than last year. Slower run as well than what I planned on. But I was like, there's a chance. I was close. Better race this year. I should go to the spot. And my son was like, he's 14 and he's a competitive skier, and he's like, you got to go, Mom. I mean, this kid has been raised in this environment, right? It's like, you got to go to the spot. You got to go. And we're sitting there, and they have this calculation now. So if you win the age group, you have a spot. But you have to take it. Like, you have to register then.
That day, yeah.
That moment. Or it's going to go into this roll down thing where they kind of take their top athletes. And they have a calculation based on age, I think maybe some past performance, or performance of other people in your age group around the world. So like, you have to be within like maybe the top 20%, and then you get in this list, and it goes down. So maybe, I think the list was maybe the top 250 people or something, and that had the possibility maybe, and then it rolls from there. So you're sitting there, and there's X number of spots. They tell you how many are left, and I'll tell you, my son's sitting there like vibrating next to me, like literally, like, I think you're gonna get it, Mom. You got. I think you're gonna get it. And I'm like, I just want to know if I got it. I want to either be able to decline it or accept it. I actually got invited to Nice, France last year to compete in the full distance, and I passed it up because I was like, we're going skiing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do a 6-hour grueling bike rides every weekend anymore. You know, I'm okay with that. I'm ready to pass that torch. But this is the half, which I feel is very doable, right? I mean, it's doable. And I'm like, oh, well, let's just see. You know, and it's getting closer to my name. I'm watching the list. There's like, people around me are like, I think you're going to get it. I think you're going to get it. You know, these are people I don't even know, but they're all just like, I think you're getting it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And when they call my name, my son like literally shot up and she's like, she's taking it. And I was like, oh God. Well, I'm going, you know.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's
rad.
I'm excited. And it's turned out, you know, I guess maybe I didn't tell people I was doing the World Championship before. I went to dinner at the Wander Inn the other night. I had like a couple people like, congrats. The newspaper had called. They did an article on it. I got people in my practice. I mean, I went through the farmer's market. Congrats. So it's like, whew. I guess I'm going, you know. I got my Airbnb. I'll be searching flights. And, you know, it sounds like you and I will be training. I'll join you on some of those training runs because you and I will have a race at the same time, you know. And I won't make any promises that I'm going to go there to win. That's not my, you know, I didn't win my slot into it. You know, I got a roll down spot. I think I was 8th in my age group. But gosh, I was real close to like the top 5. Like, so I had a good race this past 2 weeks ago. But you know what will be. If I can have 3 swims and a couple of bikes and I show up there, I'm going to be probably a little disappointed at that start line knowing I shorted, you know, the experience. But and the bike course looks gorgeous. It's up in the mountains. You know, you get to swim in the Mediterranean. I mean, you know, for crying out loud, it sounds like a great vacation. You know, hopefully I'll be able to put in enough time to show up with some respect for the other competitors that are there and the course and just have a great day. You know, that's, you know, so as of right now, I'm going.
So has your mindset always kind of been more, this is an experience, it's something that I love doing? Or was there ever a time where it was like super competitive? Like you want to finish top? In the top.
I think every race has I think when you're dealing with this distance and certainly this group of athletes and people, every race I'll have some portion of it that's competitive. Could it be a time that I set on the swim, you know, a finish in my group or whatever? I think my first one, I finished like 13th in my age group. I mean, that was my first one, you know, but, you know, it all depends on who's there that day, right? And, you know, I'm holding down a practice, I'm holding down a life, you know, things. I don't want to get stressed over something that's my fun passion, you know?
Yeah. So
each race, I think I set a goal that's obtainable, you know, that I can feel really proud about. And, you know, it might be, you know, I guess I did want to qualify. I knew if I could just run a better race, I had a chance. I didn't know that I was going to take the spot.
Yeah.
I just like to have that in my mind as like, yeah, you did that, you know? So each time, you know, and it's, you know, now if I show up at different races, yeah, some of them I show up, I'm like, I'm here to win, you know, and I walk around and there's no doubt I'm here to win, you know, and I will do whatever it takes to meet that mark, you know, but Ironman is not that for me. It's, you know, maybe a validation that you can do hard things. You can control your pain and suffering. Like, it's a day that you actually have a lot of control over how your time goes.
That's 100% me. I am a middle of the pack guy. I always kind of have been with stuff like this. But there's something about the suffering that I absolutely love.
Control it. It's one thing you have control over. And then you can take that success into the rest of your days, in my opinion. I mean,
agree.
You cut off your band. Yeah. I keep mine on for a while. You know, I'm like, it's my reminder. I walk out, I stand at the edge of the water or the beach, and I'm like, I did it again. I don't know how I did that again. I did that again. You know, and you walk a little taller. And you walk around those people doing these races, and like everybody's walking a little taller. You know, they're you know, something like this, Boston Marathon's very similar. And the people there have overcome something to make this choice, and they worked hard. And they're incredible stories, every single athlete there.
Yeah.
There's nobody really whimming it. You know, there's a reason, there's a support, there's a family, there's something they overcame, you know. And then that next day, if you walk around that town, you know, maybe we didn't see it because we just drove home, right? But it's like everybody's walking taller, you know.
Oh my God, dude.
They might be limping, but they're like, yeah, I did it.
Just walking around, man, it's because it's so big. There's so many people that do that event. And, you know, Manistee gets an overflow of people, just like I'm sure, you know, up in Traverse City, all these, where they're staying or whatever.
Yeah.
And I went to the grocery store the next day, and there were people walking around with their shirts on and their finisher hats on. And I'm like, look at all these people. Where'd they come from? See, I'm kind of like, I'm a little like, I'm not wearing the hat and the shirt around for a little while. I didn't want to just come out the next day and be like, look at what I did. But because again, for me, it's really it is I've got this I kind of crave the suffering.
Yeah.
Right. And I crave the training out of anything. The race was fantastic. I've got some really positive, you know, memories of the actual events and things I want to improve on, obviously, but it was the training, the fellowship I had, you know, all summer long. And we've got some units here in Manistee. I mean, Denny Capling was just talking the other day, and I hope she doesn't. I'm pretty sure she's like, I might have to do the Ironman again.
It's a draw.
You know,
I mean, she's got a ton of accomplishments on her resume.
But we've got other people that are now like, oh, maybe we can do the relay. You know,
Yeah.
We got some guys that, you know, don't want to swim but want to bike. Guys that would totally just do the run, and a few. I'm just talking about like Manistee Run Club that would do the swim. So we've been talking about doing like an Olympic training day.
Oh, great.
And have like a big event.
Yeah.
You know, I've got like leftover medals and awards from old races that I'm like, hey, if we get a bunch of people, we'll do finishers. Like, hey, you finished this today.
Oh,
you know?
And quite honestly, you could do a donation thing. Everybody's got an old race shirt that they just don't care about anymore.
Yeah.
And you could be like, just grab one out of the bin.
Yeah.
This is your race shirt for the day.
And it's wild that, like you said, like you see all these people that are up there in Frankfort doing this, or any of the other events that you've done, like this, like a community, that the vibe, and then it's infectious. Like you want to be around it.
Yeah, it's a good group of people.
Yeah.
And and it's, you talk about what do we want to be competitive there, right? But I don't know, maybe because it's the distance, maybe it's the vibe. You know, Ironman talks about their ohana, it's like their family. Xterra, it's your tribe. But I mean, it's so supportive. Right? It's like, it's so supportive. This person running next to you or struggling, or when I went through town on the bike, some dude was like, I hit some girl in the face so hard on the swim, I felt so bad. I was like, that was me. He's like, I'm so sorry. But it's like, if you see that dude, you're like, hey, it's like all of a sudden you guys are best buds getting through the day.
Oh, and then you feel like the pain. Like I was probably 5 miles away from the finish on the bike, and the guy right next to me, his tire just exploded, and you could just be like, oh,
buddy, hang in there.
God,
come on,
you gotta fix this thing.
Hang on there. Can you come on.
It's because I'm worried about that on the bike, because I'm not like a bike mechanic by any means.
Yeah.
I don't carry a tube. I don't know how to change a tire.
You didn't carry anything?
Because I don't know how to do it. So I'm like, if it happens, it happens. I guess I'm going to carry this bike for 56 miles, or until somebody can come and maybe assist me on changing this. That's one thing I'm going to learn how to do this year.
Well,
is change a tire.
Did you see the bike techs out there?
I did.
So I believe, you don't know how long you're waiting for a bike tech, and like, do they have wheels compatible with your setup?
Right.
I don't know. But I believe at least if you can make a effort, like if you had at least a CO2 cartridge and a fix-a-flat or something in there, a tube, if you could make an effort to make the change, they have more ability to help you. Yeah. But if you're there and have absolutely nothing,
right,
I don't know that they
hook you up.
Not saying that they would, decline you, but that's, that's, you ought to have something.
Yeah. When I was in the athlete meeting, and the director was talking about, so you get a flat, you'll have your spare tube, you'll have your CO2, and I'm like, not me. I don't have any of that shit. But
well, I carried like a fix-a-flat type of thing. I run tubulars because my stuff's from 2009, and you can't even get those. Those are glued on.
Yeah.
And I called around a little bit, and there's like nobody wants to touch those. But I'm like, I'm not investing in new wheels,
Yeah.
I guess I'll be YouTubing that, and I'll figure out how to get that fixed for next year. But I was like, you know what? I'll carry the fix-a-flat. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Life goes on. I'll do another. I'm okay with that. It's not everything is invested in this, but there's rules. There's rules, and I'm sure you went over it hopefully with your family and maybe your kids a little bit, is like there are some hard rules with, like, you cannot get outside assistance, period. I
thought I could grab another bike if something happened. Then I read the rules, and I'm like, oh, shit.
You can't have your buddy that's Tom is maybe out there on that hill and saying, here, grab my wheel, DQ. You can't have your family run along and pace you, DQ, to the point, my family's been educated. They're like terrified to move from their like location because they're afraid, like they can't hand you a goo, you can't hand off your, let's say you have your sweatshirt, or gosh darn, how many races did I leave my favorite bike gloves on? This race I didn't put them on, but, long course I'll put my bike gloves on. I'll make myself comfy, but then I'm like, shoot, now I'm stuck with these for, 4 hours of running or whatever it might be that day, so it's like, it's littering if you dump them off. Right. You can drop them at an aid station.
But you don't get them back.
You may not, unless you know the people, or whatever. Say, hold these till later. But, other athletes still help other athletes. And I think that's really gray area in the rules because they want you have to do the race on your own. Yeah. But especially if you're an age grouper, I think they almost look the other way a little because they want you to succeed, And if you're there and you're sitting there and another athlete stops to help you, they're not going to yank you both. I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask Ironman.
I was wondering about the, because for age groupers, how lenient can they be? Because I don't know. It's like cycling, for example, etiquette, because I'm a gravel bike rider, right? That's what I've always done. So this road riding was a new experience for me this year. Drafting. And blocking. So I was always super like, are there people in the woods? Like if I'm behind this guy for too long, like how far do I need to be? And then the whole blocking situation, pass or don't pass, and like Jesus Christ. But there wasn't a lot of people around me. There was people behind me and people in front of me, and I was kind of in my own little world. Yeah,
and sometimes it just spaces out. And sometimes you get in a pack, and I've been in a pack going up like a big climb, and you're 3 to 5 abreast. Like it just happens. All of a sudden you're just, and I think usually, you're in this climb, you're not necessarily gaining a draft, opportunity. For people who don't know so much about that, like if you're sitting behind somebody within, 7 meters, I think. Maybe that's the hash marks on the road for a passing zone. You can gain 20% maybe benefit of sitting in person's wind stream. And you got 20 minutes if you enter that to overcome that person, and they have, or 20 seconds to overcome, like pass their front wheel, and then that person has 20 seconds to get out of your slipstream. Or that is a drafting penalty, and I think that can be up to 5 minutes in a penalty tent. I don't even know that I saw a penalty tent.
I didn't see any penalty tents.
At the whole Ironmans, you definitely see them. You definitely see people sitting in there, and I've definitely had friends get carded, and, sometimes they are, and sometimes you're in a race and you see people like, that's drafting, you're in a pack, and you are moving. You are advancing in a group, and you just got to go, I'm not in that, and maybe you'll get nailed, maybe you won't.
Yeah.
But they seem to usually have like the quietest motorcycles.
Oh, I know that
and
motorcycle came up.
You don't hardly hear them, and then they got the person, and usually there's a notepad, and they got their little spool of colors that they'll nail you with, and the blocking is definitely a safety thing. Like, you don't want to be riding side by side and you've got somebody coming down 25 miles an hour behind you trying to cross and get in, and you don't want to force them into the next lane. But there is social, there is camaraderie, especially with the age groupers. I think they understand that you might be overcoming. You might be like, hey, how's it going?
Oh, yeah.
Great job, great outfit. You're looking great, and, I'll see you in a bit, and then, you go around. But, I think they're probably a little more lenient knowing that's not for the spot the earlier you are in the race than you're facing more policing, but it's, to be fair, it's you against the course, and if you get a bunch of outside assistance, then, it's against the rules. Simple as that.
Simple as that. Are you taking your son to France with you?
He sure wants to go. He misses a lot of school for ski racing, so we have to look at what that year looks like.
Yeah.
We just went to Paris and Switzerland for spring break, so we were already like really close to this area, and we've got a couple months of French under our belt preparing for that trip, and so I would love for him to go, but he misses for ski racing, so we'll have to see if that can happen. But I know he wants to be there, and I like, he is brutal as a spectator. He's not like, oh, you're looking great. I have this video, and he's like, I have a manual Jeep. There's your shout out to Watson. I have a stick shift, and he's like, do not let that slip into neutral. Are you giving it? Don't stall out. Shift, let's go. I mean, he was like screaming at me, and I was like, okay. He doesn't. So if he could be there, I'd love it, because I know he knows what I look like. He knows if I'm suffering. He did a lot of the track workouts with me. He pushed me along and, paddleboarded next to my swims and stuff like that. And he knows it's, you have to do the work and you have to go. And sometimes your spectators can't say, you're looking great, sweetie.
Yeah.
Good job. Sometimes you need that person in your face saying, is this what you came here for? Is this all you got? Don't quit. Not now. You got to go. Like now. And you're like, just talking about it, my heart's like,
I know, it makes me hungry for more.
My heart's like, oh, all right, let's talk about the run, right? Chris, this is your show. You're supposed to be leading this. I came off, so I was 5 minutes slower than last year's run with more preparation. And when I came off of this bike, and I was like, I stayed within my chill zones, my bike, I was like, my heart rate was where Garmin wanted me to be. I follow my Garmin a lot for my training.
Yep, so do I.
And, I'm like, I'm feeling great. I'm ticking this off. I'm rolling over the race, over the bike timers. I could visualize my parents going, yeah, we have a race today. Because I was where I wanted to be. This was not a war of attrition. She's racing today, And, I came in off that bike, and I'm like, yeah, we're going. I'm grabbing my stuff, right? Got my salts, got my food, whatever. And I stood up, and I was like, dang, I feel a little nauseated, And I'm like, all right, well, I carry my own water. I carry my salts. All righty, we're all good here. It's toasty and warm.
Yeah, it was hot.
The run is where I run people down. Like, that's usually my best. I'm pretty even across the disciplines. Like, maybe I was 9th in my age group on the swim, 8th in the bike, 7th on the run. My run is usually where I make my move, and I just love seeing people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm taking you. There's the competition side, and I'll be like, and I'm taking you. You're struggling. I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to say, come on, let's go. But in general, I'm taking people down on the run. And, but I stood up, and I looked at my Garmin. I'm like, I don't know if you're right or not, but for that first mile, it kept going ding, 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 like 195 on a heart rate. And normally, like, that's way above where I should be, especially at my age. And I'm like, what's going on over there, you know? Yeah. And normally I kind of charge out for the run. It takes me a moment to settle in. And then that set the tone. Like, I was at pace. Like, this is where you're at. You're going to stay nice and safe here. You're going to run. This is what you got. No more. And then I think it was hot. I don't know.
It was really hot.
You know, and
I put ice down my kit almost every aid station.
Oh, for God's sakes, yeah. Hat, and, you know, I live for Coke at the aid stations. Like, I don't drink that stuff hardly ever, but at a race, that is like the nectar of the gods.
It is.
And
it really is.
Looking forward to that. I don't want whatever drink you got. I've already drank them. You know, I sell Hammer Nutrition. Like, I've already had that natural, healthy thing this entire time. You know, give me the Coke. But it's supposed to be flatted. Like, they're supposed to have opened it that morning so the carbonation is minimal. And so I had some issue too. Some signal going, yo, pump the brakes on this one, you know. And I came into that, you know, a couple aid stations. I'm like, Coke, yeah. And it's just a sip, but it's like,
it's enough.
Dang, it's great.
It is.
And then I approached one in maybe midway, and I saw the person open it and pour it, like, and pour it. And I should have known better, and I took it, and I took a swig, and it had so much carbonation that it literally came right back. Like, bad choice. Blah. But then my body said, nope, we're done taking fluids in now. You know, we're done with nutrition. And I had, like, to the point that I had, like, a slosh going, and then there was definitely some attrition going on. My last 3 miles were like, you better dig, you better keep moving, but you are slowing down, you know? And I was okay on my stuff, but I was like, I actually had to consciously, like, you need to move forward right now. Like, you can't screw around. Take enough water in your mouth that you wet but that's all you got. So I think it was hot.
It was really hot. And then the other thing too is I was so like nasally, like I couldn't, so I was constantly with snot.
Oh God, it's everywhere.
Yeah, but like, so at the end we get home, gonna have some dinner, and my throat was just torched. I couldn't like swallow. It hurt so bad back here, and I wanted to bring that up because I've asked a few people, like, does that ever happen to you? And I don't know if it's because I was mouth breathing a ton, probably just drying it out, but it was just torched back here for a couple of days.
I think that's not unheard of. I'm trying to think. It's like, I mean, you put yourself through stuff. There is a lot of breathing and, you know, but, you know, when you're in bodies of water, so, you know, it's been warm, there's pollen in the water, there's algae in the water, you know,
Probably
and you are
literally,
everyone does it. If you didn't, then that was your 5 minutes off your time right there. You were carrying too much fluid. But I think people for me, swimming in different lakes, like my nose, if I swim in the morning and go to the practice in the afternoon, it hits somewhere, my nose just starts running. Yeah. You know, and that's, you know, you probably just sucked in stuff, and it's hard work. You know, your body had a little response to it, apparently. You know, it's a long day.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've got the hook in me now, so.
So did you register for next year?
It hasn't come out yet.
I don't know. I haven't.
No.
It used to be like you could register if you participated the next day at noon.
Oh, really?
And it used to be like races would fill. Like you
Frankfort had 200 slots open a week before.
Well, you know, a couple of years ago, the World Triathlon Corporation that owns Ironman changed hands. They, I think, opened a lot of races, and it used to be literally you had to be sitting, usually maybe 2 computers open, waiting for noon, or you'd have to register at the site, and you'd have to start going like, register, to get in. I mean, gone. The registration would fill like that. And now they did this tiered thing, I think Safe Start or Safe Swim, where they put you in groups, maybe enables them to carry a little bit more openings. I know there were racks open at the end, at the very end of transition. I think they had 1,600 and some people at this one. I think that whoever changed this and opened it up, I think you can get into races, and then the longer you wait, the more you pay.
Yeah. As soon as it's open, I'm set up for a notification or whatever.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to sign up again.
Hands down.
Yeah, no question.
And it's probably the same weekend as my race, I think.
If they do it the same weekend next year, I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I think they announced they're going to have it a week later.
So like the 20th, 21st?
Yeah. I don't think they should go much later.
No, because it was perfect weather. Don't fuck it up.
And it has been the last several years. It's been, I thought the run was warm. And maybe that's something too in your preparation. If you're always a morning swim bike runner, you're missing, you should try to do, in my opinion, some training around the time of, is that going to be around noon you go out for that run, so that you get, there's some fatigue already developing through the day. There's some nutrition throughout the day. If you, for, I guess, a full Ironman, I'm usually running around, 2 o'clock or something in the afternoon, or actually later, whatever, 2, 3. It's like if you at least, there's some different physiology that happens in that afternoon hour, and that might help prepare you for some of those changes. It's just an idea.
Yeah. Well, I haven't stopped training, to be honest with you. I just did a big bike ride yesterday with my buddy Tom, and we're constantly talking about next year. So it's just trying to figure out like how much to do in the air quotes off season. Because I don't have anything going on, until I'm doing North Country half again this year, which I signed up for it because I said I'm not going to do the Ironman again. I'm just going to do it and be done with it.
Well, and that's one of those ones that you have to sign up.
Yeah.
Like you can't wait full. Until
But and that scares the shit out of me because I did it this year and it was only 2 weeks away from the Ironman, and I'm like, God, I don't want to get hurt. But
well, I think it's harder. So it's like I could do an Ironman. Like there's a couple years I did Kentucky, which was at the end of August, and then Wisconsin, which was like the weekend after Labor Day. I could do 2 Ironmans back to back, a week apart or 2 weeks apart.
Jesus Christ.
And like my timing would be just minutes off. Like negligible difference between training for one as adding that second one. But if I did it as like, let's say I ran Boston, and then 9 days later I did the St. George Ironman. I'm going to say that was like a death march. That was the hardest. It's known as like one of the, if not the hardest course, but it was like brutal. Like, can I make the cutoffs? It was bad. So to do an open run, I think tears me up personally a lot more than like an Ironman. I think there's just that difference. So it might be taking some of your performance out. There's a chance to roll an ankle, fall, whatever. But that is a tough thing. But if you got 3 weeks, you got time to recover for sure. But you might not peak. You might have to choose which one you want to peak for. I don't know if you can peak for North Country and then dial it back to peak, because you're going to be heading into your taper pretty fast,
When are you tapering for an event? Seriously.
Well, I was still building into this. I came back, I think, from Chile, and did I have about a month, which I knew at least that last week was taper, and I think the weekend before we had like Labor Day, which that was my birthday weekend just after years, like, there was celebrating. Yeah. There was stuff going on, I missed those workouts, so I think for everybody's different. I would always prefer to go into a race, I'm going to say a little undertrained or over tapered, rather than coming in too hot, So is it for half distance 10 days is probably, I'm going to say, probably the sweet spot for most to slowly dial that in. I think you did a 20 miler, and that was maybe the last week, and that might have been
too much. I
might have done a 15 with some key tempo segments in it, and then done, I'd say 10 days. And so you're looking at next year. You should look at all your disciplines, take a nice critical look at your events piece by piece, the overall picture, the weather, take some notes, right? Your transitions, lots of room for improvement. I think I had a 4-minute and a 3-minute or something like that. And I don't see why you shouldn't be there. That is right there. That's the cheapest speed you're going to get. That's the fourth discipline. You could cut off, just looking at that, 13 minutes of time. That's a huge cut, right? So dial those transitions in, right? That's going to be big for you. That's free speed. Maybe work on flexibility this winter so that you can comfortably lay on those aero bars, right? Get comfort in that position. Online, there's a ton of resources. I haven't done much of anything since I finished the race, but I had also tabled a bunch of things I needed to do around the house or at the practice. Yeah. And so now's the time that stuff takes precedence, and it's been killing me, right? It is beautiful out.
I know.
I want to go swimming. I want to go biking. I want to go running. I love it, especially when you got no reason to do it. It's just fun. Take the cruiser. But I'm like, nope. You got to get that work done now. That's how that happens. But, I believe in the rest. 47, give your body some recovery. Spend some time seeing where you want to improve on your race, right? Maybe do some strength and agility training over the winter. The winter is probably not the time where you work on your endurance. Yeah. Maybe you work on your strength and your speed, and then maybe coming into it, then you start adding your miles, but you keep those key workouts in of those intervals to keep yourself like race ready honed, but this is the time to, spend that, make up to your family for when you were gone. Let your kids know that even though you dry heave, that daddy's okay. Look, daddy can eat now. He's fine. Yeah, exactly. He's going to sign up for more, But I think, there's, off-season plans, and maybe, I guess I'll share with you. I'll start looking to what, I'm not going to go to win that, but I want to feel good about that. I'm going to have to, for me, winter is extremely busy with skiing. Skiing all the time. There's leg strength to that, but it's not the same as these, find a way. But if I body needs some rest too. It deserves some recovery and some repair.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my God, I love this race.
We're going to have to work out this summer together.
Absolutely.
We'll put some stuff together. It'll be fun.
It sounds like a whole group will be able to go. And then that's,
even better.
Yeah. It'll make fun. We'll all have a great day. We'll have some camaraderie, And
hopefully I can, I'm not going to say hopefully, I will be able to enjoy the after of the race next year.
Well, this is technically still after, and look at you smiling.
Immediately after. I want to be like, whoa, that was really hard, but I need a beer.
And the food wasn't that.
Well, by the time I got to the line, it was like bean something.
They had a black bean, and then they had kind of a tofu maybe bowl, right?
Yeah, looks sketch to me.
And I think I got an assortment. They had pizza.
No pizza.
Chips. Oh, buddy.
Yeah. See, I was a little late to the game, guys.
Dang. You got it.
Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.